Heidi ho, chat. How is everyone today? This is Kara here again with our next episode of Echo. I cannot put this game down. I always get this way with games. So, yeah, I'm hoping that maybe we're close enough to finishing Leo's route. I seriously doubt it. Because this game has been way longer than I thought, and I still have to play through it several more times to understand the full routes. So, let's jump right back into it. Last thing I remember before I went out last night was that we were at Kutsu's place. He had just gotten kicked out by Leo because Leo's going batshit crazy. I think the town finally has a hold of him, and we just found Jenna. So, now that we got our girl back and the girly pop up the group, let's jump right back in. So, where were you these past few days? If you want to tell me, I mean. Jenna stares at the floor, then shrugs. I don't really know. It's kind of a blur. I nod. Yeah, same. I guess it happened 2 or 3 days ago. I don't remember, but everything was normal until TJ woke up. It was like he was in a trance or something. I wasn't sure what was wrong with him, and I thought he might have been having a seizure. Then I thought he was in a psychosis of some kind. He left the motel and just started running. So I followed him. He ran all the way to the lake, and I was sure he was going to go in. But then he just stopped on the shore and stared at it. I caught up to him and tried to talk to him, but it was like I wasn't there. All he could say was your name. Chase. Chase. Where's Chase? I think he was looking in the water for you. Jenna looks right at me. I don't know why. Do you? Of course not. I shake my head. I have no idea. Liar. The couch tilts. And so I sort of grabbed his shoulder to lead him back, away from the lake. But then he turned on me and he sort of just changed. The water changed that day. My head spins and I brace my paws against the armrest, trying not to fall over. And he attacked me, clawed me up. And for the first time, Jenna sticks out her arm and pulls back some of the fur where I see bits of crusted blood. You knew what water felt like. I had to run from him, and he chased me for a while. To everyone else. And as I did, I realized the whole town was different. Everyone was different. Suffocating. I swallow hard, still gripping into the couch, but Jenna doesn't seem to notice, and Kutsu's looking at her. The humming in my head finally starts to die down. You say he's at Leo's? Is he okay? Did he explain what happened? I shake my head, but only a little. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. No, but he has been acting a little strange, I guess. I need to talk to him. Make sure he's actually okay. We will. Though I'm not sure that'll find him okay at all. So what happened after all that? It looked like you were hiding out there. Kutsu gestures a paw at the window. Jenna covers her face with both paws, sighing deeply. That I'm not too sure about. After I ran, it all just became sort of a dream. I only remember bits and pieces. We wait for a moment as Jenna seems to think. I remember I went back to the motel, I think. But then I saw something. Jenna pauses, then lets out a little humorless laugh. A thing that I remembered from my childhood. A monster, I guess. A monster? Yeah, like this thing. Jenna waves her paw in front of her face. Had like a red face, and I don't know. I thought I saw it in my closet a few times as a kid. Felt like it was chasing me. What do you think it was? Jenna laughs hollowly again. Oh, I didn't think it was anything. I must have had my own little breakdown after seeing everyone else's. Jenna sighs deeply again, sitting back in the couch. But then you guys came along, and now I think everything is clear. Jenna leans back for a moment, breathing deeply, and for the first time, seems like she's relaxing a bit. She turns her attention back to Kutsu. Hey, Kutsu, is it? Kutsu nods. Mind if I use your restroom? I just need a moment to collect myself. And pee too. An actual toilet would be nice. Oh, yeah, just right there. Kutsu points at the thin little white door between the kitchen and the living area. Thanks! And with that, Jenna disappears into the bathroom. Kutsu and I sit in silence for a moment, listening to the sound of running water from the faucet. Well, I think now we have a reason to go back to Leo's house. I know he won't be mad at you if he knows you found Jenna. I don't know about that, but yes, we're gonna have to go back with her. I'll talk to him first in case he's still out of it. Again, thanks. I'm glad you're here with me now. Kutsu rubs his arm awkwardly. I get panicky when things get physical, which they have a lot lately. I gesture at the cushion next to me, and after a moment of hesitation, Kutsu gets up from the recliner and sits to sit next to me. I reach around him and squeeze him to my side. It's cool. Like I said, you saved my ass so many times at this point it's the least I can do. I almost tell him that he's been there for me more than anyone at this point, but that feels a bit too much right now. Kutsu chuckles and leans back, his arm brushing mine. I didn't always used to be like this, you know. What? A fucking coward. I scrunch my muzzle up. What? No way. You've been insanely brave. Kutsu shakes his head. Nah. You saw me at Duke's house when you got caught, and then down in the basement, then when Leo tossed me out. Those are all great reasons to have been scared, Kutsu. You've still faced all of it. Kutsu looks unconvinced. I don't know, Chase. After what Leo did, I don't think I was gonna come back. Shrug. Well, then I'm glad I came after you then. Kutsu's quiet for a moment. Then he chuckles quietly, leaning his head back to stare at the ceiling. What? Just... I moved to Echo to get away from stuff like this. Kutsu shakes his head. Now, look at what happened. It's fucking ridiculous. Like people going crazy? Bad and guns and violence. Peyton isn't a rough city compared to others in the country, but it has rough patches. And I lived in one of those patches. I think you told me that you moved here because there's less people. Kutsu sighs quietly again. It's not the only reason. I lost someone a few years back. I need a fresh start, I guess. The silence drags out for a moment as I contemplate that. My eyes start to drift to the picture frames by the love seat, the one where someone had their arm around Kutsu. In it, I see a hare, smiling just as toothly as the raccoon next to him, a good head taller than his companion. Now, look where I am. I snap my eyes back to the raccoon, not wanting to be caught looking. I don't know what to say. So I just settled with, we're gonna get out. Just gotta listen for that train. Mm-hmm. Kutsu has his eyes closed, so I lean back too. Despite all the shit going on outside, there's something really peaceful about being here, next to Kuzu in his neat little trailer. We sit there a while, listening to the soft rush of running water. After a while, I look towards the bathroom, realizing how uncomfortably full my bladder is right now. Jenna doesn't seem to be coming out anytime soon, though. Listen, I gotta take a piss. Again? Kutsu smirks at me. Well, yeah, it's been a few hours. I pee a lot anyway. Oh, yeah, very good to know. Yeah, I'll be right back. Kutsu's joking demeanor suddenly drops. I don't know. I think we should stitch together right now. Remember what happened last time? You want to watch me? Kutsu pauses. I'll stand in the doorway, alright? Just go by the side of the trailer. Alright, alright. I head outside while Kutsu hangs back by the door. Just make it quick, and again, yell if something happens. It's fine, I'll only be a few feet away. I, hi- I hide a small smile at how motherly Kutsu's being right now. After everything that's happened, it's no wonder. We run to the side of the trailer, back into the darkness. Quickly, I unbutton and zip down my fly. I start to go when I hear some footsteps behind me. I look over my shoulder. Kutsu! What? And then two massive paws wrap around my body. I look down and get a glimpse of thick claws and brown matted fur. I scream and I'm pulled back into the dark towards the desert. I know who it is immediately. The smell is unmistakable. And that and the high-pitched voice cursing as he drags me along the brush. Chase! Kutsu screams. Kutsu's scream seems like it's only a few yards away. He's going to catch up to us, and then I don't know what. Try to fight Brian off? I guess. But just as I'm thinking, Brian picks me off the ground and practically throws me. Next thing I know, my head's stopping as the back of it knocks against something hard. My legs are splayed upward, my foot pads pressed against something smooth and cool. I hear more cursing and the sound of snarling. Kutsu? Then I hear the sound of a car door slam and I realize I'm in a trunk, my feet pressed against a windshield. Ryan's massive bulk squeezes next to me and I feel the truck accelerate. The backside wobbles back and forth in the sand and it tries to find a purchase in the ground. Then we find the road and I'm pressed back to the seat as Brian steps hard on the gas. I scramble upright into a seated position, pressing back as far as I can against my door away from Brian. He doesn't seem to be paying attention to me right now, with his eyes fixed on the road. My heart hammers in my chest. I can't even start to comprehend what just happened to me. Is this real? Am I dreaming? How did I end up fucking things up so badly again? Brian takes a hard turn, and I almost tumble into him. In a panic, I kick my feet against the side, keeping myself upright and against the door. The big bear grunts and glances at me before fixing his eyes back to the road. I quickly draw my feet back, pressing my knees against my chest as I try to hold onto the chair to keep from falling over. I realized then that Brian must have been waiting for me, waiting outside Kutsu's trailer for the perfect moment to grab me. I'd given it to him by being idiotic, skipping outside to take a piss, the results of which I smell wafting up from my pants. I don't care though. Everything is numb right now and my mind is racing, trying to figure out how I'm going to get out of this. My paw automatically reaches back to pull out the door handle. It's locked. My paw feels along the door looking for the lock. My fingers pass over a small hole where I assume it should be, but it's smooth. It's like the little nub for the pop-up lock is missing, or that it's been cut off. Swallowing hard, I keep searching and my fingers come across the window crank handle. I tentatively start to roll it down, but it's clear that I haven't thought ahead as Brian immediately noticed the drafty air. He lunges at me, one hand still on the wheel. I scream and dodge out of the way, falling into the footwell as I try to escape his massive paw. He doesn't grab me, instead reaching for the handle and rolling the window back up. The truck swerves back and forth as he does this for a moment. I'm sure he's about to roll the whole thing out how fast we're going. He finally sits upright again. Do that again and... Oh, wait, it's Brian. Do that again and I'll knock you out. Still, he doesn't look at me. It's only then I notice the stark difference between his demeanor now compared to the first few times I'd seen him. There's no lust, no animalistic drive to fuck everything around him. Instead, there's a sort of desperation about him. I see his eyes dart around the glow of the headlights, the fur on his face matted down from sweat. I sit there in the footwell, staring up at him, gripping onto the seat as my head knocks against the glove compartment. After a few minutes of erratic driving and swerving, I gather my wits enough to speak. Oh, what are you doing? Brian's eyes flick down towards me, then back up to the road before he shakes his head. He does it slowly, like he can't believe something. but he doesn't say anything. At least, not for a while. Then, after what could have been anywhere from 2 minutes to 20 minutes, he speaks. Can you tell me the truth, boy? I sit there quietly, contemplating making a jump for the door, to open it and tumble out into the desert. If I wasn't injured badly enough, or even if I survived for that matter of fact, maybe I could make a run for it. What truth? What's going on in this town? Oh my god. I squeeze my eyes shut and let my forehead thump against the seat. But only for a moment, since I want to be able to keep an eye on Brian. I already told Duke. I have no fucking clue. You were there. Brian grunts as he continues to stare out at the windshield, clearly thinking about something. I can't help you or anyone here, Brian. I'm just trying to find a way out. That gives me an idea. Wait. I might know I might know a way to get out of here. If you let me go, I'll tell you. As soon as that comes out of my mouth, I wonder if I've made a mistake. Brian doesn't need to let me go Brian doesn't need to let me go to get him. Brian doesn't need to let me go to get me to tell him what he wants. I'm alone here with him, and he can do whatever he wants to me. And I'd probably tell him whatever he wanted to hear. But he surprises me with what he says next. Escaping isn't gonna fix any of this. We're all gonna see the same shit. I wait, but he stays quiet. It takes me another minute to work up the courage to ask. See what? You know exactly what. He screeches at me in his high-pitched voice, and the truck swerves precariously. I can imagine the tires sliding off the road for a moment before Brian corrects it. You know exactly what I'm talking about, he says more gently, taking deep breaths to calm himself. Then he looks down at me. Don't you? I swallow hard, wanting to find the right answer, but unsure of what it might be. Like when Duke saw something on the ceiling in the diner? That's the first thing that comes to mind. Something that Brian saw with me. He lets out a cold guffaw? That's exactly what I'm talking about, Otter. That and every fucking thing else. The truck takes a hard turn and I brace myself in the little well. The swerves and turns are becoming more frequent. Can't really see out the window, but I'm pretty sure we're heading into the mountains. Was that creature gonna attack us? Should I warn Brian? But we've all been seeing shit for a long time, even before this crazier shit started a few days back. Brian glances down at me once again. Haven't you seen stuff here? My mind immediately thinks back to when I was a kid. I'd seen plenty of things. Plenty of horrible things. But the psychiatrist has said that it was normal, that sometimes kids hallucinate. I notice Brian's not wearing a seatbelt, and I start to toy with the idea of grabbing the wheel. Again, I might be killed. It'll at least stop Brian from taking me to wherever he is taking me. Might even be better today. Maybe, but my parents, my friends, they haven't really seen stuff. Except Jenna, and now TJ, and Carl after this all started. Brian grins with his crooked and missing teeth. Seems we only see shit if there's a reason to. I don't know what it is either, but from what I've seen, it's a combination of shitty experience and being an echo. The truck is slowing down a little now as we start taking sharper turns. Brian's calmed down at least, but it also means that we're definitely deep in the mountains at this point, and the road having turned to gravel. When I was a kid in Peyton, I didn't see shit, even though I had a pretty fucked up childhood. My mom left me when I was 6 because my dad was a piece of shit. But you know, she's a piece of shit for leaving me with him. Anyway, you know where my dad told me she'd gone? I don't say anything until Brian's looks back down at me expectantly. Where? Brian cackles, and it sends a chill up my spine. That aliens had taken her. I press myself deeper into the well, wishing I could just disappear into the floor. I think he must have been drunk or high or both, but it stuck with me, you know? I nod, and I try to keep the bear happy as he drives along the road, a road so curvy it seems impossible in my mind. then, when I was a teenager in '87 or so, I got myself a boyfriend. Well, more of a fuck buddy. We kinda hated each other. He talked too much, but he was a good fuck, and the only bundle of sticks I knew. So I came here every other week or so to fuck him. But then something weird happened on my second or third trip here. I remember the moon was red that night, and the forest fire, because of the forest fires out west. And I kept looking at it, and that's when I saw a flying saucer, like straight out of a cartoon, lights and a dome thing on top. I couldn't believe it. But there it fucking was, floating through the sky. And you know, even though it looked stupid as fuck, I knew. Brian takes a big wide turn and the truck slows more and more until it comes to a rumbling halt. My ears ringing in silence as Brian continues to stare out into the night, the headlights lighting up his face. It knew I saw it, and it was fucking evil. I just knew it. Brian looks down at me again. That night, and almost every night after, I'd wake up, couldn't move, and aliens would be around my bed. And there was this one alien that I knew was my mom. She didn't look like my mom. She looked like an alien. But I just knew it was her. And she'd do these things to me sometimes. To my mouth, then eyes and nose. But usually my dick. Torture me. And it felt fucking real. Brian chuckles, still staring at me. Fucked me up good. And I blamed my boyfriend for it. For bringing me to Echo. Because I was sure that's where the evil came from. I outed him that year, and he had to leave town because of it. The massive bear shakes his head. Didn't stop the dreams, though. Brian puts the truck in park, and then shuts off the engine. We sit there, in the darkness, and silence. Even though I just emptied my bladder. I feel like I'm gonna piss myself again. Never told anyone that before. I don't say anything as I just breathe through my mouth, trying to make as little sound as possible. There's something fucked up in this town that makes us see things, feel things from our past or some shit. Duke told me about it, how it's been happening a long fucking time, but he thinks there's a way to fix it. Brian suddenly opens the door and jumps out. He slams the door hard enough to make my ears pop. For about 5 seconds, I will myself to move, to run to open his door and sprint into the night, but my body refuses to move, and before I know it, the bear is yanking open my door and grabbing me by the wrist. And if you help me out with this, we can be done with it for good. He pulls me out roughly. My legs are like rubber when he sets me on the ground, but he holds me up easily with his paws on my arms. Can you promise to help me? Then I'll let you go, and we'll be free from this evil, okay? All I can do is nod dumbly. Alright, it's gonna be okay, Otter, I promise. Brian transfers his iron-like grip to my wrist and starts to pull me along. I stumble after him weakly, trying not to trip in the darkness. Brian stops next to the truck bed and starts to rummage around inside. I feel like I'm gonna pee again. What do you need me to do, though? Brian finally pulls out something, and it looks shiny and heavy. I open my mouth to scream, but that's when a burst of life comes out of one of the ends of it. It's a mag light. I stare at it, gasping stupidly. Brian sweeps the beam of light around. All around us is gravel, sagebrush, and some cacti. I have no idea where we are. I need to get something, and it's in a place that's too small for me to squeeze into. I need your help to get it, okay? Okay, but what is it? Brian ignores me, looking around. He seems to settle in the direction and sets off, pulling me along with him. Anyway, it makes me think all these ghosts, UFOs, and monsters people see in the woods, I think they're all connected somehow. Yeah? I focus on trying to keep the bear happy, pretending to be interested in his ramblings. Meanwhile, we're not even on a trail, just pushing through thick brush and sharp rocks. Yeah, like little bits of echo are everywhere in the world. Some small like a house, some huge like a town. That kind of makes sense. No, it doesn't. None of this makes sense. But I have to focus on getting away from the bear. I should have made a run for it back at the car, but there's no helping that now. We walk for maybe about 100 yards. As we do, the land starts to incline and become steep. Brian even slips a few times, and I'm worried he's going to fall on top of me. Each time he manages to catch himself, then yank me up after him. After a few minutes of huffing and puffing, we reach a bit of an outcrop with some large boulders. Brian lets go of me and clambers up the side of one of them. And before I can even think of running, he turns around and grabs me again by the scruff. I squeak as I'm lifted in the air, feeling like a pup again before I'm set down beside the bear. Brian looks around, keeping a hold of my wrist as he does. After some stomping and looking around with his flashlight, he seems to find what he's looking for. He brings us to the edge of a boulder, then he lifts me up again, this time by the wrists. I kick around for a moment before he lowers me slowly into a dark, spacious hole. I start to wonder if it's going to go down for a while, and I panic before my feet touch down on soft, cool dirt. Musty, cold air wafts back from a black space in front of me. Immediately, Brian drops down next to me, snatching up my paw again. He shines a light on the dark patch in front of me, and I see what looks like a narrow tunnel burrowing into the side of the incline we're on. What is that? Brian grunts and starts to pull me into an opening, but I pull back. Brian yanks me hard, and it feels like he almost dislocated my shoulder. I yelp loudly. Shut up! Brian hissed at me as he turned sideways to fit better into the tunnel. It's the mine, you idiot! What? I look back at the opening back towards Echo, gently illuminated by moonlight. I thought it was sealed. It is. This is the back entrance. Duke told me about it years ago. Said his family has known about it for decades. We push through a while until we come into another tunnel. This one twice as wide as the one we were just in. It branches left and then right. Brian stands there for a moment, inhaling deeply as he looks around. Hang on, it's been a while. I can't help myself from blurting out, You don't know where to go? I expect him to hit me or something, but he ignores me. Finally, he pulls me to the left. The idea of being trapped here with Brian, lost in a mine, is more terrifying than anything that happened in town so far. The air is so musty and dry, I feel like coughing and sneezing at the same time, but I try to hold it in so I don't upset Brian. We walk for another 10 minutes or so, taking a few more turns. I try to memorize the route, in case I'm able to break free, but after 5 or so branches, I realize I can't remember the second or third. Brian suddenly speaks up, nearly making me jump in the darkness. After a while, I stop seeing aliens. His grip is tight, and I can feel that the circulation in my paw is cut off. It's like it's just a mass of pins and needles at this point. Now, I just see people. What kind of people? People you know? I try to keep Brian talking while I think. At some point, he's gonna have to let go of me again, and that's when I'm gonna have to make a run for it, no matter what. Kudzu probably saw which direction we drove off in, and probably went to Leo to get the car. But at this point, I doubt they're gonna be able to find us. At least, not in time. Went into the mountains, probably through some back road that none of us even knew existed. Then Brian took me hundreds of yards in the desert to find a tiny opening behind some boulders. There's no way they're gonna find me in here. I'm on my own. Well, I see just one person, but the person changes every now and then. Brian pauses, looking into the narrow opening in the tunnel wall, even more narrow than the first passage, depending on who it was I last knew. Before I can figure out what he meant by that, I'm shoved hard, forced to enter the passage in front of Brian. It's just wide enough that I can walk straight, my shoulders nearly touching both sides. Brian, on the other hand, has to suck in and move sideways, grunting and cursing and making all kinds of noise. Brian lets go of me as he tries to pull himself through, though he keeps knocking into me, sending me forward. I could try to escape, but I have a feeling that doesn't exist ahead of me. In fact, it feels like I'm being trapped. I can't explain it, but I start to get a terrible feeling that something awful is waiting for me at the end of this passage. And then I start to smell something. It's old and almost covered up by the dust and mustiness, but it's definitely there. Sweet and sick. Something rotten. Feels like ice water is just poured down my back and I freeze, only to be given a shove by the bear behind me. I fall forward into a wider opening. The smell entombs me. I know without looking that I'm surrounded by death. I lay there on the floor, not moving, listening to Brian as he tries to squeeze through the opening. I can remember years ago when I was maybe 12, walking along the dirt road home after hanging out with Carl. On the side of the road I saw some roadkill, and just as I passed by, I could see white maggots writhing through the fur. The smell for a single moment was almost unbearable, and I gagged and ran past. And while the odor in here is a bit more faint, it's almost exactly the same. I hear Brian finally shift free from the exit and shines the light back down at me. I know I should run, but I need to get the fuck out of here. I know I should be fighting like hell, because I know what's coming. Is this what it was like for people who get kidnapped or murdered? People wonder why they didn't fight harder or run when they had the chance. I should have run the second we stopped in the truck, but right now I'm stuck in ice. My frantic thoughts are interrupted as Brian grasps me by the back of my shirt and pulls me back up to my feet. I'm not able to stand, just sort of crumple down next to him. The bear grunts and drags me along the little opening that we're in, dropping me against the wall. As Brian fumbles with the flashlight, I get a glimpse of my surroundings. It's small, maybe about 15 feet long, 10 feet wide. It's narrow enough that Brian takes up most of the space, and I'd be hard-pressed to get past him. I draw my knees to my chest and hug them, feeling numb. God, you're such a useless piece of shit. I watch Brian lean over something against the wall. It looks like two long polished pieces of wood. Brian tips the flashlight down and I see that those pieces of wood were attached to a shovel and a pickaxe. Brian grabs a pickaxe and for a heart-stopping moment, I think he's going to turn on me. But instead he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out something small and rectangular. It's not until he opens it and shines his flashlight that I see it's some kind of small notebook. The bear looks at the notebook, then back at the little cave we're in. Silence is almost unbearable and I feel like I need to say something, if only to feel the silence. What are you doing? You know exactly what he's doing. Ryan ignores me as he continues to search for something. I whimper softly in the back of my throat. Please. About to be murdered? And you beg like a little bitch? Shut up! I can't help it as I hiss through my teeth at that goddamn voice. I don't need to hear it, especially now. Brian stiffens and turns around. What? I shake my head, squinting and unable to see his face as the bear turns his light on me. Nothing. I just... No, you were just talking to something. Did you see someone? No. I don't know. I shut my eyes against the light and only see blood red. Ryan chuckles as my vision goes back to black as he takes the light off of me. I was the same way as you. Let me tell you something though. Ignoring it ain't gonna make it go away. Brian finally stops scanning the ground and crouches down. It takes me a moment to realize what he's looking at until he reaches down and picks it up. A smooth stone. Brian looks at it for a moment, thinking. Then he drops it off the side and looks back down at the book. Daniel, 19. Ferret. He was the smallest. I think. Should be enough room. Brian shines the light back down at the ground for a moment. Then he seems to make up his mind as he sets the butt of the flashlight on the ground. It brightly lights up the ceiling, leaving us in a dim yellow glow. Brian eyes me for a moment, positioning himself so he can watch me while also doing his work. Crouching over, Brian starts breaking through the hard surface of the dirt with the pickaxe, grunting with each stroke. He can only do little short swings. The ceiling is too low for Brian to even stand up straight. At this point, the smell of Brian has almost overwhelmed the stench of death. I guess it's one of the few things I don't mind his smell covering up. Why aren't you at least trying to escape? Because he's in the way. Because you're a coward. Why the fuck are you talking to me now? I thought you left. I never left. You know that. You felt me even more after you left town. I shouldn't have come back. Probably not. I'm going insane. Brings back memories of my old life. I'm going insane and it's bringing back all of my old demons. No. I think it's because you're in the mine. I think you figured out that it's the source of everything. Haven't you? The voice I've been trying to ignore all week has changed. It's not vague or insidious anymore. It's more natural, like a real person. More like what I used to hear when I was a kid. Well, I was a real person. Sometimes I even doubt that I am that person. It chuckles and I feel the back of my brain itch. More like what do you call it? A simulation. It waits for me to answer, but I don't want to talk to it. Oh, stop pretending I'm not here. You can feel me. You felt me looking over your shoulder since you got here. I let my head thump against my knees, closing my eyes. Well, really, ever since Sydney. Just ignore it. But I can understand. Even I feel as though something is controlling me. It's the oddest thing. Hey! I snap my head up, jumping as I find the bear staring at me. The hell are you mumbling? Nothing. Brian chuckles again and reaches across the other wall, grabbing the shovel. He starts digging up a loose patch of dirt in front of him. Yeah, keep it to yourself, I guess. But like I said, you ain't the only one. Brian gestures behind him with the thumb towards the ground. I look and see nothing except a few stones on the ground. After Rachel back there, things got way worse than aliens for me. I saw her at night, crawling on my ceiling, peeking out from under my bed, staring at me from my window. Brian grunts as he digs the shovel deep, then lifts, turning a pile of dirt out onto the side. So did Duke. Drove him crazy. Turned him into a speed addict. Not that I mind. He was always my most reliable customer. The sick, sweet smell starts to grow again. It's starting to become overpowering. I feel like I should keep talking to him, get him comfortable, and buy myself more time. Should you, though? Who's Rachel? Duke's wife. I try to remember what I know about Duke's marriage aside from the fact that he isn't married anymore. I realized then that I do remember Rachel, but just barely. She was only around while I was in grade school, and was pretty nice as far as I can remember. Didn't he divorce her? Brian shrugs as he stops digging, resting on the handle. I guess he sort of did, but I mean she was dead by then. They wanted my stuff, but didn't have the money, so I cut him a deal to fuck for the drugs instead. I mean, I can't say I like bitches at all. Annoying and whiny. And she let me go way farther than Duke ever did, so I mainly fucked around with her. It's not hard for me to picture exactly what that fucking was. Then one day, I guess I went too far. She died and we buried her right there. Brian points more specifically at a rock sitting against the wall on the other side. The big bear starts digging again, more vigorously lengthening the patch that he's working on. But I didn't see her until the night after I buried her, maybe a week later. Bear shakes his head and laughs mockingly. You didn't think that'd stop me from doing it again, but you know, when that last breath came out of her and she sort of shuddered on the table. Brian glances up at me. Blew my load without even touching it. Made me wonder how good it could be with a guy if it was that good with a bitch. You want him to keep talking? Brian pauses in a sudden spurt of digging and looks at me again. Probably wondering why I'm telling you this, thinking I'm crazy. But I don't know. Feels good to tell someone. You're like my own therapy otter. The bear looks back down at the hole he's made, but the smell coming out of it is so overpowering I'm on the verge of gagging again. I don't see her anymore though. It changes with each one. 7 stones. And it'll probably change again. And with that, the bear comes to me. The space is so small, it only takes him 2 steps. I scream and cover my face. Coward. And try to fold up as tight into a ball as I can. Before I knew it, Ryan has me by the back of the shirt. He drags me over until I'm kneeling next to the hole. I can see that it's definitely a grave now. You already knew. Because I can see the bones poking through the dirt, the bits of blue and white cloth that were its clothes. You mean Daniel, the 19-year-old ferret. I feel like me telling all this to you, and me being nice to you so far. Maybe don't come back after me. Just move on. I feel Brian move around behind me, then press something cold into the back of my head. A gun. I guess Brian's probably got plenty of those. I'm doing the town some good after all. How? I blurted out, my mind racing, trying to think of something, anything to get out of this. Brian does pause though. How what? How is this helping anyone? Why are you doing this? A few seconds go by, and I'm sure I'm about to hear the crack of a pistol. The last thing I'll ever hear. Then Brian sighs. Again. I feel like I should tell you everything so you know. So you don't have to come back and fuck with me. But Duke, he said this all started when you came back. I told you, I have no idea why. My voice rises in pitch as I start to panic. Duke had already tried to kill me, even after we tried to convince him. I had nothing to do with any of this. Not any of this? Are you sure of that? I felt Brian set his feet behind me, and I can picture him getting ready to pull the trigger. I'm gonna die. This keeps happening, doesn't it? It's hysteria. I'm sorry. Remember, this is for the good of the town. To me, it's like the town holds its breath, letting all the evil build up until it has to let it out in one big go. Ryan grips into my head, pressing the barrel of the gun into the back of my head. And you brought a lot of guilt and evil with you back to this town. Maybe that was enough to push it over the edge again. Rest easy. So in a way, it is your fault, isn't it? My eyes are watering. I don't know if it's from Brian's gripping my fur or if I'm crying. Help me. I say it to you. Wait. What? I glance to my right and see something standing in the entrance to our little hollow. It's faint, either because of the dim lighting or because the thing itself isn't quite opaque. It's tall, white, and gangly. Its long fingers nearly touch the ground. Its face is heart-shaped, the whiteness of it interrupted by massive, shining black eyes in its face. It stands there, motionless, watching us. I stare back open-mouthed. Brian must have taken notice too, because the next thing I know, the bear squeals. It's so loud and high-pitched, I wince. Brian lets me go just as the thing moves. It seems to lean forward and glide towards us, but its gliding is stilted, like a film with half seconds missing from it. It flickers, seeming to turn transparent as it grows closer, the white fading to pink, then a bright red, for a brief second before reverting. I'm frozen, kneeling as I watch. Brian backs away and promptly steps on the flashlight. The lighting careens sideways, and I look over to see Brian's foot slip on the cylindrical flashlight before hearing his rump comes down hard on top of it. All the light is extinguished. I can't see the thing or Brian now. I hear him, though, as he lets out another screech of pure fear, like a wounded animal. I hear something else, too. A voice that's also high-pitched, babbling something fast and senseless. It's like a tape recorder being rewound. Brian's screeching impossibly turns up a notch as I instinctively move forward, away from the horrible sounds as I pitch forward into the hole. The smell engulfs me, and I can feel a hard and knobbly thing in the dirt around me. Where are we going? Just taking a back road. But we're leaving the city. Yeah, well, I live outside the city. You didn't tell me that. Let's just go back to the club. Alright, pull the fuck over. Let me out. I said pull over. Where the fuck is the lock? You best not be doing that. Hey, get off me. I gasp and scramble out of the grave, gagging uncontrollably. Once I'm out, I curl up on my side, drawing in my knees again. The horrible screeching and bizarre babbling language continue, though the sound from Brian are more ragged now. Occasionally the room flashes with light as Brian shifts around, but I face the wall, not wanting to look. Get up. I curl up tighter, just waiting, hoping that I wake up. You sniveling little shit. Get up. I press my face into the dirt. Trust me, there's far worse out there, and it's coming for you, unless you get up and get out. I've given up. Get up. You force yourself up onto your hands and knees and start crawling the direction of the exit. The flashlight continues to be rolling around, giving you glimpses of where you're going. The sounds from Brian have stopped. Now it's just the mechanical gibberish that seems to be growing in pitch and speed. But you don't look back. You don't need to see that. The otter is already broken enough. Soon, you're crawling through the exit. The cacophony behind you is immediately muted. It's become more and more faint until it almost disappears as you come out of the other side. Once you're free, you stand up in the comparatively fresh, cool air. The main tunnel. You remember this place. You also know the tunnels like the back of your hand. It's pitch black, but if you feel around the walls, you should be able to find your way out. You head to the right, down towards the exit of the main tunnel, with your right hand dragging along the wall. Then when you feel an opening with your hand, you take a left, then another right, and finally, a final right that takes you back out to the exit. Nick had drilled the directions into your head far too many times for you to. Red eyes appear at the end of the tunnel. At the end of the last stretch, you freeze and observe. Things in the mind can hurt you far worse than things outside. Brian had just experienced that. But you're not sure. Is this one of the otter's demons? Or... No. No. It's something else. Something you're not quite seeing correctly. A friend. The lizard. He's warped. Chase! I slump to my knees, shaking uncontrollably as Finn shines a light down on me. Fuck! Chase! Come on! Let's go! Flynn yanks me to my feet, and next thing I know I'm stumbling after him. Out of the mine. And out of what I'm now convinced is hell. I sit in the passenger seat of Flynn's truck, feeling numb. I choose to stare out the window, watching the desert rush by as Flynn tries to ask me questions. Where's the bear? I shake my head. Is he still in the mine? I think so. What happened? I don't know. It feels strange being back out here. While everything is definitely fucked up and strange out here in Echo, at least it makes more sense. The mine is completely different. It's chaos. That's the word. Chaos. What? How did you find me? I look back and plan to see that he's staring at me closely, barely keeping an eye on the road. I went to Leo's house. Found all you guys there, except you, of course. Just waiting? I don't know how to feel about the idea of all my friends just sitting around while a serial killer had kidnapped me. Of course, none of us really knew Brian was a serial killer. Well, a lot was going on. Kudzu, that raccoon, is the one that told me you were missing. Leo, on the other hand, said you were fine, and he saw you around the house. What? Flynn shrugs. I have no fucking clue, but he was practically holding everyone hostage. Wouldn't give the keys up, so I had to take my own truck out here. Is everyone okay? Hopefully. Jenna said she'd try to keep him calm while I came and looked for you. How did you know I was in the mines? Well, Kuzu pointed out the direction you went. I drove up to the canyon, since that's basically the only place he could go. I saw where he'd parked and I knew he'd taken you in there. But how did you know about the back entrance? Flint smirks as we come out of the curvy Echo Canyon onto the straight road to Echo. Does it really matter? Either way, I know a lot about the town. I watched Flynn for a while until he glances back at me. What? Where the hell have you been the past few days? Oh, in the town hall. Managing stuff. Stuff? Like everything going on. I tried to find you guys at the hotel at Carl's house, but I didn't see anyone, so I assumed you tried to leave. That answer is far from satisfactory, but I have no energy to dig deeper. So, are we going back? Yep. Then what? Well, they were saying something about a train, so I assume we try to get out that way. Sounds like you already found out you can't drive out. Yeah. We turn on the road to Leo's house. As I watch the house gets closer, I can't help getting a growing sense of dread in the pits of my stomach. As soon as we step through the doorway, I'm engulfed in a combination of beige, gray, black, and white furs. I'm surrounded by my friends. Jenna, Carl, and Kutsu are all talking at once, asking me how I am, what happened, if I'm okay. Flynn puts up his hands. Guys, let him breathe. I don't think he's up for talking too much. Jenna and Carl step back, but Kutsu doesn't. He's got a hand on my shoulder, gripping it like he doesn't think I'm real. Hey, I'm sorry. I should have been more careful. I should have let you piss on my fucking carpet instead or something. It takes me a second to realize what he's talking about. The thing that got me into Brian's trap in the first place. Makes me laugh a bit at how earnest Kutsu looks compared to what just came out of his mouth. I also realize that I want to hug him really badly, so I do. I feel the raccoon stiff up for a moment, then hug back. It feels so fucking good to be in the arms of someone I trust. It seems to break through the numbness that I'm feeling. At least a little bit. Carl seems to take that as an invitation to hug as well, and Jenna joins in. I don't mind. I wish I could stay like this forever. Actually, I just wish this all hadn't happened in the first place. It comes to an end, and eventually Kutsu is the last one to draw back. I'm about to ask where TJ is when I see Leo. The wolf stands at the entrance of the hallway, his eyes on me and Kutsu. He's got a pillow in one paw, and his shirt is hitched up over his stomach a bit, like he just pulled it on. What are you doing? The room goes quiet and the mood immediately changes. Carl, Jenna, and Kutsu all look weary. No one says anything. I clear my throat. I'm back. Brian took me to... Leo frowns. Back? No, you were in my room and asked for a pillow. We were... Leo's glare turns on Kutsu. Have they been telling you to say this? Leo, no. The look in my former boyfriend's eyes is completely alien to me. I've never seen that look from him before. I guess I knew that the town or whatever all this is had gotten to him, but not completely taken him. Now I'm not so sure. Kutsu stands next to me, his shoulders in front of mine. Leo eyes them again before turning back to me. Chase, come here. I don't move. The room is completely silent. Chase, I said, come here. Leo, what the hell? Leo ignores Flynn, his steely eyes on mine. The feeling of coming to a safe place is completely gone now. Echo has seeped into every part of my life, it seems. But I don't move, neither does Kutsu. Leo doesn't seem to know what to do. His face transforms from anger to confusion. Chula, you were just in the bedroom with me, telling me. Leo trails off. I was in the mine, Leo, with Brian. Leo stares. The silence drags on until a soft clicking comes from the kitchen. Everyone looks as TJ emerges, staring at all of us with sad, lost eyes. TJ? What is it? There's another train coming. Oh, good. Thank you for watching, TJ. I'm not sure if Jenna's relieved because our ride out is coming, or if it's because it can distract us from the whole Leo situation. We all move at once, squeezing past Leo out to the backyard. He watches me pass him, dumbfounded. TJ's right. In the distance, I can see the lights of another train, slowly winding its way towards us. At this point, dawn is just breaking. Somehow it's only been one night, even though it feels like it's been several weeks. Alright, for whatever reason, the train is moving pretty fucking slow. We should be able to hop on it. The train wails in the distance again, much closer now. I thought I was going to have to drive alongside it with you all in the truck bed, honestly. The train does seem to be moving pretty slow as it gets closer. I realize it's not exactly going to be a jog to run alongside it. I might be able to catch it with a full sprint. Alright, here's what we're gonna do. I'll get on first along with Kutsu, and we're gonna pull the rest of you on, alright? Carl fidgets nervously. I don't know if I can run that fast. You will now. I feel a paw land on my shoulder and turn me around. It's Leo. Hey, what is it? I look back at Flynn, wanting to hear what he's saying. Listen to me. Everything you said at the house. Did you mean it? Huh? What did I say? Leo looks impatient. What you said about loving me, wanting to be with me forever. You meant that, right? What? The train is approaching. We have maybe a minute. What the fuck? Why are you acting like you don't fucking remember? Leo bristles, teeth bared, eyes narrowing. Oh my god, Leo, let's get out of here first. I start to back away towards the others as they continue to discuss jumping on the train. No. Leo grabs my shoulder, looking me right in the eyes. He makes an effort to calm down, closing his eyes a moment before opening them. Then tell me now. Are you gonna stay with me when this is all over? We can talk about this when we get on the train. No, I want to know before. I see Kutsu looking at us, and it looks like he's about to head over. Just tell me the truth. That's all I want. We'll work something out. I promise. When we get on that train, we'll figure everything out, okay? Leo watches me carefully, looking unsure. Kutsu's next to me at the moment, though, and he pulls me back towards the group. Come on, we're going now. Leo's eyes flash as he watches, his teeth showing. I don't have time to try to counsel him anymore, because the train starts to pull up. Run! Flynn shoves Carl forward and the ram takes off alongside the rails, looking over his shoulder at the train. Next thing I know, we're all running after Carl as the train catches up. I look back. Flynn waves both arms at the locomotive as it was his past, but if there's a reaction from the driver, I don't see it. I have just enough time to read the letters on the side of the engine. Prescott Railway, before it's moving past me down the tracks. I realize that this train is quite short, maybe only 5 cars in all. We won't have many chances. Kudzu! Flynn points at the caboose and starts running beside it. Next, two little steps that drop down at the very end of the platform. Gracefully, the lizard jumps, landing his feet on the steps as his hands scramble for some kind of purchase. He finds it and pulls himself onto the next. He pulls himself in, and the next second he's reaching out, holding onto the handle on the caboose as he grabs one of Kudzu's paws. With much more ease than Flynn had, Kudzu jumps up to the step, pulls himself onto the platform. I pass Carl at this point, the ram already losing his steam. He calls after me in a hoarse, ragged voice. Shit! I'm not gonna make... Flynn grabs the ram as they pass the car, and Carl skips on the uneven gravel, and for a horrifying moment, I think he's gonna fall. But Kudzu leans in and snatches him up well, practically lifting Carl into the platform. Jenna, who's right beside me, is next, reaching out her paw towards Flynn. Grabbing it, Jenna easily jumps on over the two steps. I think it's my turn next, but TJ slows down abruptly and I move to his side to make room for him. Flynn grabs his arm and TJ hesitates several times before Kudzu gets a grip on him as well, and he's able to step up onto the first step. It's then when I realize the train is picking up speed and I'm starting to slow down. I move up beside the caboose and seeing Flynn's outstretched hand. Now that I'm next to it, I can see how terrifying this is. The wheels clack loudly in my ears and I have no idea if I'm going to lift one leg up while keeping up this speed. But I get a grasp on Flynn's hand and see Kudzu's paw reaching out as well. The train is going way too fast now, and I know we only have one chance at this. I pull down on their hand and lift my feet up onto the last step. Once my feet makes contact, relief floods through me. I can't help but grin at myself as I take the first step on it. Then I hear the sound of stopping footsteps behind me. I look back and see Leo running right next to me, snarling with every breath. I start to move quickly, wanting to be out of the way for Leo, but that's when I see him already reaching out. For me. His anchor bracelet in the grip of a moonlight. I don't have time to think as the wolf grabs the back of my shirt and pulls hard. I hear the threads pop on my collar as I'm choked. I lose my grip on Flynn and Kudzu. As I fall, I reach out to grab onto the railing of the platform. In doing so, my leg swings under the train and I lose my grip. I hit the ground hard and roll over several times before something catches my legs. I'm pulled violently with the train and an unbelievable pressure squeezes me. My calves are already caught in a vice. Suddenly, the train lets me go and I come to an abrupt sliding stop in the gravel. I lay there, stunned, feeling nothing. And then the almighty throb goes through my leg. I gasp and I push myself up, and I see my feet's missing. I stare as my leg seems to end where the ends of my pants do. A dark stain pools out on the ground around them. I can't think. I don't know what to think. Chase! I look up and see Kudzu, just Kudzu, limping towards me. I wonder if he's missing a foot too, but no, just limping on it. As he approaches, I point out my missing feet, like maybe I'll have an answer for what just happened. Fuck! Immediately, the raccoon drops down beside me, reaching for his waist. He's undoing his belt, and I'm about to tell him how now's not the time for that kind of stuff, but then he starts putting the belt around one of my calves. That's when he lifts the pant leg, and I get a glimpse of the ragged flesh and fur, blood, and the white of bone. Leo, you fucking dumbass! Give me your other belt! I hear footsteps behind him. Take it! Oh my god! Kudzu slumps down over my legs, and I wonder if he's trying to stop the bleeding with his body. A similar dark puddle seems to form around his head and face. Shit. I reach out and press a paw to his head, wishing I wore a belt so I could put it around his neck. Oh. No. 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 Leo mumbles in my ear, pushing Kudzu off roughly as he looks at my legs. We're going to get you fixed. I didn't mean for this to happen, but we'll figure something out. The wolf slides his arm around me and picks me up, and the world tilts. Oh my god. Leo flashes a grin at me from across the table as my mom turns away to get the drinks from the fridge. This is gonna be way better than I thought it would. My dad asks Leo what he's doing for a living, and the wolf tells him he's already got a high-paying job for the auto repair shop. At the same time, he's playing footsies with me under the table. My legs are throbbing regularly now, not even really hurting. I squint against the bright light of the bathroom as Leo flips it on. He turns to the bathtub, and I see a bright streak of red on the wall after he does. Then he lays me down in the tub and starts to wrap some stuff around my legs. It does start to hurt, and then I groan. Shh, don't worry. It's fine. This is gonna fix you up completely. The end of the bathtub is almost completely red. I lay my head on Leo's chest as he taps away texts on his phone. I love days like this, where we have the whole afternoon free and we choose to do nothing. It's peaceful and quiet. I love the way the late afternoon sun pours through the window and warms my fur while at the same time being cooled by the fan. I realize that I want to spend the rest of my life with this wolf. Leo nuzzles my neck and head fur, mumbling into my ear, but I can't really understand him. I look down and see that my pants are off, and I'm just in my boxers. The ends of my legs are wrapped in red bandages, completely soaked through, soaking into the bed I'm laying in. I start to reach towards them, but my hand is shaking so hard, and Leo grabs it to pull it back to my chest. I'm really cold. In response, Leo draws closer and spoons me. The early morning light pours through the window, and I think I can hear sirens. Leo nuzzles my ear again, and I try to pull away, but he holds me tight. Like you said, we're gonna work something out. I knew it'd be easier to do that here, in Echo, where we started. Seeing you leave on that train was too much. Something leers at me from the corner of the room. Leo gazes at me with pure, unconditional love as he pulls back from our kiss. My first kiss. My excitement comes out in a burst of a giggle as I hug my wolf to my body, feeling soft warmth against me. The wolf hugs me, and we stay like that for a long time. I don't even mind that it's a rundown train yard in the middle of the hot desert. I'm in love with him. He holds me tight. The horrible throbbing in my leg has stopped. I'm not cold anymore either. Just empty. The creature stares at me from the corner, red and grotesque. I stare back as my vision slowly fades. I don't feel anything anymore. The end. Oh shit. I just killed Chase. Holy crap. So, I got the bad ending, I'm assuming. Fuck. Okay, we can do this time. We're gonna go back and we're gonna skip up until we have that choice again. Because, damn it. Like hell, I'm gonna let that be the ending. It's over. Leo's eyes bore into mine as I look back at him. Now isn't the time for this. In fact, it's the absolute worst time for something like this. but looking at him, I can tell this is the only time for Leo. No, Leo. Leo's eyes widen and he leans back slightly, at the same time taking a step back. It's like I physically pushed him. After everything that's happened, I just can't. Leo seems frozen, watching me, his arms hanging loosely at his sides. I hear the crunch of the gravel next to me, and Kutsu's by my side. Come on, we're going now. Leo's hands move, then to his waistband. I have a moment to see him lift the gun from underneath his shirt, his eyes on Kutsu. My body moves automatically, stepping in front of the raccoon and raising my hands to my chest, defensively. Leo has already frozen his motion, though. Gun in front of his stomach. Still pointed down at the ground as he stares past me. What the fuck? I feel Kutsu grab my arm from behind. His grip tightens that it's so painful, but I keep my eyes on Leo, waiting and watching to see what direction the gun might go in. But then it drops. First, his arms hang loosely by his side once more, then the gun, which clatters to the gravel below. I flinch, expecting it to go off. It doesn't, and instead my ears are filled with the sound of the arriving train. Leo's eyes are back on mine, and I watch tears start to spill out. Come on, Leo. We have to get out of here. Kutsu pulls me back and I turn away from Leo and the town of Echo and rejoin the rest of the group. Run! Flynn shoves Carl forward and the ram takes off alongside the rails, looking over his shoulders at the train. Next thing I know, we're all running after Carl as the train catches up. I look back. Flynn waves both arms at the locomotive as it whizzes past, but if there's a reaction from the driver, I don't see any. I have just enough time to read the letters on the side of the engine, Prescott Railway, before it's moving past me down the tracks. I realize that the train is quite short, maybe only 5 cars in all. We won't have many chances. Kutsu! Flynn points at the caboose and starts running beside it. In the next 2 little steps that drop down at the very end of the platform, gracefully the lizard jumps, landing his feet on the steps as he scrambles to find some kind of purchase. He finds it and pulls himself he finds it and pulls himself in, and the next second he's reaching out, holding onto the handle of the caboose as he grabs one of Kutsu's paws, with much more ease than Flynn had. Kutsu jumps onto the steps and pulls himself onto the platform. I pass Carl at this point, the ram already losing steam. He calls out after me in a hoarse, ragged voice. Shit, I'm not gonna make... Flynn grabs the ram as they pass, and Carl hop-skips on uneven gravel, and for a horrifying moment I think he's gonna fall. But Kutsu leans in and snatches him up as well, practically lifting Carl up onto the platform. Jenna, who's right beside me, is next, reaching a paw out to Flynn. He grabs it, and Jenna easily jumps on over the 2 steps. I think it's my turn next, but TJ slows down abruptly, and I move to the side to make room for him. Flynn grabs his arms, and TJ hesitates several times before Kutsu gets a grip on him, and, well, he's able to step onto the first step. It's then I realize that the train is picking up speed, and I'm starting to slow down. I move up beside the caboose, seeing Flynn's outstretched hand. Now that I'm next to it, I can see how terrifying this is. The wheels clack loudly in my ears, and I have no idea how I'm going to lift one leg while keeping up this speed. While I get a grasp on Flynn's hand, I see Kutsu's paw reaching out as well. The train going way too fast now, and I only have one chance at this. I pull down on their hands and lift my feet up to land on the last step. Once my feet make contact, relief floods through me. I can't help myself as I grin as I pull myself up the steps. I don't know if we're safe or if this whole plan is going to work, but we carried it out somehow, and that feels good for once. Then I remember Leo and look back, expecting to see him running next to the train. Instead, all I see is the push and the gravel rushing past. I look back toward the train and think I can make out a small figure in the distance, exactly where I'd left him. Where the hell's Leo? I stay silent, but Flynn follows my gaze out to the desert. Shit! At that moment, I'm not sure what I should feel. Probably relief. But what I do feel is an incredible wave of sadness, like a physical wave smashing into my body. Probably the same thing Leo felt when I told him. Some parts of me know that this shouldn't matter now. All that matters is we might have just escaped with our lives. But leaving Leo behind. Someone I'd known for most of my life. Someone who'd protected me, been a friend to me, guided me through the worst parts of my life. Someone who'd always emphasized togetherness and family, who'd always vowed to protect and stand by my side. That very same person had just chosen to stay behind while we were the only ones leaving. While we were the ones leaving, he's the one that decided to leave us. And as that solitary figure grows smaller and smaller, that idea hurts more than anything else right now. After seeing Janice get murdered, after being tortured by Brian, after nearly being murdered in the mine, this separation from my best friend is the knife that begins to twist in my chest. I sink to my knees, holding onto the railing, wondering if I should have stayed behind. Because the Leo I'd just been with isn't the Leo I really know. He needed help, and I just abandoned him. I should have stayed behind. Hot tears spill over my cheek as I stare at the metal platform. Fuck you! We say the words under my breath, but there's more rage behind them than anything I've ever said in my life. And they're meant for echo. Fuck you for killing Janice. Fuck you for hurting William. Fuck you for killing Duke. Fuck you for hurting Cliff. Fuck you for what you buried in the mines. Fuck you for hurting Nick. Fuck you for twisting my friends into something they're not. Fuck you for hurting Cynthia and Murdoch. And fuck you for ruining my life. I sit there on my knees, sobbing hard, like I'm crying for two people at once. I can't see Leo anymore, but the thought of him alone, and probably hurting like me, is too much. I don't know how long I cry for, but it feels like a long time. After a while, I feel a paw on my shoulder. I imagine the rest of my friends standing there staring at me, but when I turn my head, it's only Kutsu. The raccoon is crouched next to me, his head turned towards me, a look that can only be described as understanding on his face. In a bit of a daze, I rub my face on my shoulder to clear my vision. Sorry. Don't be. Kutsu says it automatically as he rubs my shoulder gently. You want to get up? The rest of them went inside. I stay crouched there a moment, watching the blur of the train tracks in front of me as we continue through the desert. Give me a second. My nose is all stuffy, so my voice comes out clogged. The tiny lights of echo on the endless expanses of the desert get smaller and smaller. And so too does the feeling of tension in my chest. And with the tension goes the sad, angry presence in my head. He goes quiet again. It makes me feel a bit better. But each time I think about Leo, that knife gets a little deeper. Kutsu nods and squeezes my shoulder. After a few moments of silence, he speaks. You know that I lost someone a few years ago. I wipe my eyes again and nod. You was my boyfriend. I keep silent as I stare at the tracks, almost hypnotized. That strange feeling of wanting to jump tickles at the back of my brain, then fades slowly. One night, we were walking along like we usually did, and we got mugged. We should have just given him everything, but my boyfriend, of course, stepped forward and confronted the guy and got shot. I glanced back at the raccoon with no idea of what to say. Kutsu shakes his head like he's coming out of a dream. I'm just saying that I'm here. I might know what this feels like, you know. I cough a little to clear my throat. I mean, you didn't die. Kutsu shrugs. Breaking up can feel like that sometimes. It's... it's a lot more than that. It was all of that. I wave in the direction of the town. It just feels like I lost him right when we got away. We're gonna get people to go back for him. Yeah. I let out a big breath before slowly standing up, my knees popping as I do. Kutsu stands up with me as I lean against the railing, choosing not to look out at the town. After a moment, I turn around to face Kutsu, and then I'm hugging him. There's no hesitation this time as he hugs back. I let myself lean into him, letting him support me, feeling the neck on his fur poke through mine. We stay like that for a good 5 minutes, vibrating along the train. Finally, I pull back. Alright, we should probably go in. I don't think it's all that safe out here anyway. Without letting go of me, Kutsu opens the door and guides me inside. My friends are all sitting in the little seats in the dark, swaying around with the train's movements. Carl sits closest to us, and he looks up at the sound of the door. Hey, Chase. You okay? I laugh. No. Carl smiles sadly. Yeah, sorry. You're fine, man. I see Jenna and teacher together on the seat further along the wall, and Flynn sits opposite them. Further still, a small shape leaning against the opposite end of the caboose, curled up on his seat. It's Clint. Flynn occasionally glances at him, but the polecat doesn't seem interested in coming any closer to us. Kutsu guides me to sit next to Carl, and I make room so that the raccoon can sit next to me. So, where do you think we're going? I feel Carl twitch against me as he sits there hunched over. Anywhere's better. As long as it's not hell, I guess. I guess. Kutsu's arm goes around my shoulder automatically, and we sit in silence for what feels like a long, long time. I don't mind it. I wouldn't mind if this were just the rest of my life, honestly. For the first time in several days, I feel calm and safe. Soon enough, though, the darkness of the caboose is illuminated with occasional flashes of light. Flynn looks out the window. Peyton. With a grating screech, the train starts slowing down. I'm a little surprised. I guess I thought the train wasn't real and it would just go on forever. But now it comes to a slow, stuttering stop. We all sit in the dark, quiet, listening. Flynn stands up and opens the door. Soft orange light spills inside. What the hell? Out of the doorway, I see a row of train tracks, occupied with other boxcars. Someone moves into view. It's an older-looking fox in overalls. He stares up at us like we're aliens. Where the hell did you come from? A moment of silence before Flynn clears his throat. We're from Echo. Saturday. Yeah, Mom. I promise I'll call you in an hour. No, I'm not. No, we're not staying the night. I promise. Wow, Mom. Alright, I swear. I love you too. Bye. I hang up and drop my paw onto my lap, sighing loudly. Kutsu laughs. Everything okay? I rub my eyes. Yeah, I guess she's just worried, obviously. Kutsu reaches over and sets a paw on my knee, squeezing it briefly before returning it to the steering wheel. I can still turn back, you know. I take another breath and hold it. It's tempting. It might be a better idea to just let the past die. But now that I'm leaving the area for good, I want to see it one last time. The town and Leo. I let the breath out. Nah, I need to do it. I need to do this. I've thought about it for so damn long, there's no way I'd forgive myself for backing out now. I need closure. Alright, but if he gets weird at all, I'm taking you the hell out of there. He won't. He's back to normal, as much as any of us can be. Mm. But I told him that I was only going to be there for a little bit, that we're just driving through. I look over and stare at him. You want to stay in the car? Was planning to, unless you're planning to go inside. No, I'll stay outside. Alright, but I'll be watching in case you two try anything. Yeah, right. It's been 2 years. That's not very long. Hey, I know Leo. He's not the person we last saw. Yeah, I know. I feel my stomach tighten and I suddenly realize we're driving past the lake, then onto Main Street. It's completely abandoned, but we passed the motel. The windows are all boarded up and the parking lot is filled with more cracks than I remember. But I'm hit with a wave of familiarity all the same. Standing in the parking lot, there are two people. Pointing at the motel is a large black bear, and in front of him a canine of some kind with a video camera. Kudzu snorts, but doesn't say anything. At first, I feel a spark of anger at them for probably seeing this whole thing as a morbidly fun adventure, not even having the slightest idea of what sort of hell the town went through. Then I remembered that I'd done the same thing. Granted, it was many years removed. It was many more years removed, but still the same. We turn into Leo Street, and my stomach tightens further. Kudzu glances at me. Can I get a kiss before you talk to your ex? Eyes on the road. Kudzu leans over, very deliberately keeping his eyes on the road as he tries to turn his face towards me. I give him a quick peck on the side of his muzzle, and he laughs. I try to laugh as well, but it gets caught in my throat as I see that old house. And there, waiting in the driveway, is Leo. Hey, how's it going? Leo cheerfully greets me as I open the door. He catches me off guard a little bit, his mood being so different from mine. Hey, Leo, what's up? Leo has his paw shoved in his pocket, but still manages to shrug. Not much. You? Not much. Leo ducks his head and looks in at Kutsu. Hey, Kud. You alright? Kutsu awkwardly answers from behind me. Yeah, I'm okay. In the moment of silence, I try to think of what to say or do. I hadn't expected Leo to just meet me outside. Did you want to come in for a quick beer or something? Oh, I'm actually driving for the next couple of hours. Yeah, we were just stopping by for a minute. Ah, okay. Leo's smile falters a little bit, and he shrugs again. Want to go for a walk then? Stretch your legs. I look back at Kutsu, but he doesn't say anything and doesn't give me a hint as to what he's thinking. He's leaving the decision up to me. Yeah, sure. Leo ducks his head again. You want to come, Kud? Kutsu hesitates and shakes his head. Nah, you two go ahead. I prefer the AC. Alright, cool. Feeling just a little tension between the two of them, I quickly jump out and shut my door. I look over the rail yard, which is in full view of the car, and point. Wanna walk over there? Sure. So, you've just been hanging out here for the past 2 years? A little bit. Spent a lot of times with my parents. I'm moving back in with them right now, actually. Oh yeah? Yeah, it sucks. But honestly, I can't stand all the vultures scavenging for stories here. Sounds like it. But at least you'll be around other people, right? Yeah, it's officially a ghost town now if you haven't noticed. I look out over the rest of the town towards the motel and the convenience store and all the little tiny houses and trailers in between. Not a single person. I actually visited Carl once in a while over the summer. Leo nods up to the mountains and I see the big mansion glinting gently into the sunset. Hey, that's cool. I hear he's doing pretty good in school right now. Good. Are you going back to school? Meh. I shrug my shoulders, walking up to the train tracks and to straddle the steel rails. Not in Pueblo, since we're moving up a couple states, but probably eventually. There's a lull in the conversation as we both go quiet. I look around, wondering if this was the spot where we hopped the train. The train that turned out to be an old engine caboose on its way to Peyton, where it transferred it to the train museum. It had been traveling at a gentle 10 miles per hour. to keep from derailing off the old tracks, just slow enough for us to catch. It was the last of the 3 engines being transferred that night. Just a few hours later, emergency services went in and recovered what else was left in town, including Leo. I still wondered if we need to hop on the train, but I guess I was escaping more than just the town. I look back at Leo. Are you okay? Hmm? Leo looks up from kicking around some rocks. I mean, I scratched the back of my head vigorously, trying to figure out how not to say the wrong thing. Have you been doing okay? Are you happy? Leo smiles. Not really. Are you? I think back to the past 2 years of nightmares and panic attacks and breakdowns into tears out of nowhere. Just a few hours ago, I dropped to the ground in the grocery store in Peyton because someone dropped a jar of jam. But Kutsu had been there, like always, to help me back up. I'm managing. I can't cope with this. It's a process. That's good. Are you managing? Leo chuckles. I'm just living. Are you getting help? Like professional help? Yeah. No. Oh. Well, it can really help. I like to do things on my own these days. Leo looks back towards the car. Kutsu's barely visible through the window. People can help. You don't have to do everything on your own. I think it's best if I stay away from people for now. I notice the anchor bracelet is missing from Leo's wrist. I look down at the tracks. Listen, I'm sorry about everything that happened. I wish I could do things over, even before what happened here in Echo. Leo looks at me for a moment, a sad smile on his face. The last 2 years have been hell for me. I cried myself to sleep every night thinking about you. I feel my face flush with embarrassment, and for some reason, shame. But last month, for the first time, it stopped. I stopped thinking about you every hour. I stopped thinking about what you might be doing, about how he might be treating you, about whether or not you're thinking of me. Yeah, I still think about you sometimes, and when I do, I still cry. But now it hurts less. So yeah, I am doing better, Chase. Oh, well, that's good. I have no right to feel a little sad, but I do. I'm sorry, Chase, for not protecting you the way I should have, for trying to take control of you, and do all that shady shit behind your back. Whatever the fuck was in this town that made us all go crazy, I realize it twisted up my thinking. But those thoughts were always there. Echo just brought it up to the surface. So, I'm a shitty person, and you made me realize that. And I'm sorry I brought you into it. Just know that I really did love you. Leo looks over my shoulder at the car again. Anyway, you should get back to Coot. He'll take care of you. And I hope you'll take care of him. Okay? My mouth hangs open for a little bit. But that snaps me back to reality. Yeah. I'll do that. I start walking back to the car, but Leo doesn't follow me. I pause. Do you want my new number? We can talk. No. The surprised look on my face makes Leo laugh. It's a real laugh. Kind of sad. Kind of happy. But real. That wouldn't be good for either of us. So, we're just saying goodbye forever? That old knife in my heart starts twisting again. Leo shrugs. You never know. I stand there 10 feet away from my first boyfriend. My first kiss in this very rail yard. My best friend. But hey, if you drive through Peyton again, I'm always open to have another chat. Maybe you'll catch me in a better place. I will. I say it immediately, and Leo smiles at me. So, I'll see you again. Someday. I look forward to it. Alright. Bye then. Goodbye, Chase. I walk the rest of the distance to the car and open up the passenger door before getting in and sitting down. With the door still open, I look back one last time. Leo stands there, paw still jammed in his pocket, and his fur outlined with orange and gold light from the setting sun, highlighting his head fur like a halo. I take it in for a moment, then wave. He waves back, and with that, I close the door. The end. Oh my gosh. I'm feeling so many different things right now. Anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoyed Leo's route because we still got 4 other routes to go, both good and bad endings. Either way, I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I know I did. I'm gonna go kinda let this feeling go because, oh god, that brings up my ex a little too much. Anyway, we'll catch you guys later. Thank you guys for being here for my first run of Echo, and we got 4 more to go, then we'll move on to the smoke room. Anyway, take care everyone, and remember to take care of yourself. Emotions shouldn't be bottled up. Don't let those dark thoughts win. Catch you later.